The Arab-Israeli conflict is one of the most complex, protracted, and emotionally charged geopolitical struggles in modern history. But beyond headlines and hashtags lies a deep-rooted narrative of identity, empire, nationalism, and trauma. In this video, we will trace the origins of this conflict from its early foundations in the late Ottoman period to the major turning points of the 20th century, revealing the underlying realities that continue to shape the region today. To understand the roots of the Arab-Israeli conflict, we must begin with the Ottoman Empire, which ruled over Palestine for centuries. During this time, Jews, Christians, and Muslims coexisted under a millet system that allowed for a degree of religious autonomy. However, the rise of nationalism in Europe began to ripple through the empire in the late 19th century. Two competing movements emerged: Zionism, Jewish nationalism seeking a homeland in historic Palestine, and Arab nationalism seeking independence from Ottoman and later European control. In 1917, amidst World War I, the British government issued the Balfour Declaration, pledging support for the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, while simultaneously promising Arab leaders independence for their support against the Ottomans. These contradictory promises sowed the seeds of future discord. Following the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, the League of Nations granted Britain the mandate over Palestine in 1920. Jewish immigration, particularly from Eastern Europe, began to increase rapidly, spurred by rising anti-Semitism and pogroms. Zionist organizations purchased land, often displacing Arab tenant farmers. Tensions mounted as both Jews and Arabs perceived existential threats to their national aspirations. The 1936 to 1939 Arab Revolt against British rule and Jewish immigration was a significant turning point. It was brutally suppressed, but it demonstrated the growing unrest. British attempts to mediate through partition plans failed, and by the end of the 1930s, the conflict had become deeply entrenched. The Holocaust, which resulted in the systematic murder of 6 million Jews, profoundly shaped international support for a Jewish homeland. As Jewish survivors sought refuge, British immigration restrictions in Palestine were met with fierce resistance. In 1947, the United Nations proposed partitioning Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem as an international city. The Jewish Agency accepted the plan. Arab leaders rejected it, viewing it as a violation of the majority Arab population's rights. In May 1948, the State of Israel declared independence. The surrounding Arab states, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq invaded. The ensuing war resulted in an Israeli victory, but also in the mass displacement of approximately 750,000 Palestinians, known in Arabic as the Nakba, or catastrophe. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War was only the beginning. A series of wars followed. In 1956, 1967, and 1973. The most pivotal was the Six-Day War of 1967, in which Israel captured the West Bank, Gaza Strip, Sinai Peninsula, and Golan Heights. These territories included East Jerusalem, which holds profound religious and historical significance for Jews, Muslims, and Christians alike. The occupation of these territories, especially the West Bank and Gaza, became a defining feature of the conflict. The United Nations Security Council adopted Resolution 242, calling for Israel to withdraw from occupied territories in exchange for peace, a formula known as Land for Peace. Yet, no comprehensive peace materialized. By the late 1960s, the Palestinian Liberation Organization under Yasser Arafat had emerged as the main political voice of Palestinian aspirations. The group employed both diplomacy and armed struggle, including tactics that drew international controversy. In 1987, The First Intifada, an uprising against Israeli occupation, erupted in the West Bank and Gaza. It led to a shift in the Israeli and Palestinian political landscapes and set the stage for the Oslo Accords in the 1990s. These accords envisioned a two-state solution and led to the creation of the Palestinian Authority. But unresolved issues such as the status of Jerusalem, right of return for refugees, Israeli settlements, and security concerns undermined the process. Since the collapse of the peace process in the early 2000s, the situation has grown more complex. The Second Intifada brought violence and harsh crackdowns. The Gaza Strip, under blockade and ruled by the Islamist movement Hamas since 2007, has witnessed repeated military confrontations with Israel. Meanwhile, the West Bank remains under Israeli military occupation, with growing Israeli settlements deemed illegal under international law by most of the global community. Internally, Palestinian politics are deeply fragmented. Externally, regional powers have pursued their own agendas. Recent normalization agreements between Israel and several Arab states, such as the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, reflect shifting regional dynamics, but offer little immediate hope for resolving core issues. The Arab-Israeli conflict is not a singular narrative. It is a tapestry of history, identity, trauma, and aspiration. For Israelis, it is the story of survival and self-determination after centuries of persecution. For Palestinians, it is a narrative of dispossession, resistance, and an unfulfilled promise of nationhood. Peace remains elusive, but understanding the deep roots and complex realities is the first step toward any meaningful dialogue. In history, as in life, there are no simple truths, only layered realities.